filing today. Typically, you do your filing after sawing and before sanding. That way, should you skid out on your filing or for whatever reason, you have a chance to correct that with your sanding. All right, so if we look to this parts of this poster that I made from Tim McGreet's book, The Complete Metalsmith, you will see that there are a number of types of files. We have round, crossing, half round, flat, peeler, triangular, square, knife, okay? And so you'll notice with the notation that, you know, some have tick marks and there are sides that don't have tick marks. That means that that edge is a non-cutting edge, and that can be important in that so let's say you're going into a really tight corner. Sometimes you don't want to side cut your material, so that would be a better choice. But there are even more files than this. This is like your typical set. I usually suggest that you would get a not very expensive set that you can find at the hardware store, but the one file that you really want to pay attention to and have a quality one is a half round file. Okay, that's because it's the most, you get the most service out of it. All right, so here we are looking at a poster that, a little bit of a poster of what I put together. The half round is designed to go onto outside curves, or let's say areas that have a straightaway. You can use the half file with that. And then you on interior curves, you would use the round side, okay? Obviously, right here, if you were to put a flat-sided file into a curve, you're going to ding up your edge and you'll never get done. So, usually I look for my half round first, but really, you know, look to your piece to see what kind of shape might serve you best for what you're filing, okay? So you will notice that, and you'll notice right here, a file is very similar to a saw blade, and in that there is a zigzagged cut to it. And so it's designed typically to cut in one direction, all right? So that's important to keep in mind, because when you're filing, you are always filing away from yourself. So I have some files right here, and I am going to grab a half round. And they're smaller, you know, you'll see that there's a lot of variation in size. I usually just kind of check with my thumb to see what the cut feels like. You'll be able to feel if a file is dull or has too much tooth to what you are filing, all right? So, but for the most part, we just use these little files. It's best to try and keep them stored in a manner that they're not rubbing up against each other. So in our cupboard, we have some containers like this, and then we stick them into styrofoam also, again, so that they're not rubbing up against each other. There's a few things that will kill a file. Heat will kill them, so you should never use a file as a soldering tool. It will lose its hardness and then basically become dull. And I never want to see our files at the sink or in a puddle of water. Later, our next step, we will be using sandpaper that has water involved, and so it would be real bad for the file to end up in that. And the reason is because they can rust very quickly and it will corrode your file. Here you can see I have a sample of a rusted out file that really degraded it very quickly. All right. As you work, at times you will find that the file may get clogged depending on your material. This here is called a file card. It kind of looks like a doggy brush, and indeed you could probably use a doggy brush. But so you would take that into the grooves going this way, not this way. That would just gloss over the cutting edge. In between the cut will take out any gunk that might build up. That is when you're filing. So, so that said, panning over here to our bench pen, we're looking at filing. Before we were using our bench pen with the sawing side up flat. Most likely now our best way to manage it is turning this over to the flat side as soon as I can get this off. Okay, there, we're gonna turn this over. And you do not have to use this high block, but I indeed find that it's kind of nice to be able to work a little closer to my eyes. That way I don't have to hunch over so much. All right, so my setup is going to look like this. I'm solid on the block. Your bench pen should not be wiggly. I'm putting this down here, so now I'm kind of at shoulder height. Okay, so I'm nice and solid there. All right, so that said, when you are holding your work, the angle of this bench pen is designed to be like so, like it would kind of be parallel to your stroke. And so you'll notice from this illustration that you are totally allowed to cut in and groove your bench pen for it to be stable. All right, so that said, I'm gonna grab a piece of metal really quick so I can show you a few things. And then there's something else I want to. All right, so here we are, and I can either kind of put it like so. Notice that I am filing away from me, and I am picking up on every stroke. I am not, if I am just trying to keep my stroke the same, I might be gliding, but I am not pushing. And there's a really good reason for that. Looking back at our illustration of filing, if you press on your pull stroke, you will start to ding down those little teeth. And once those teeth go past your axis line, basically you got a bad file, okay? So if I see you kind of coming at it with filing on the pull stroke, I will ask you to push instead of pull there. All right, so I'm not sure if you can see, but if you've done a good job, you'll see one flash of light. You won't see that, it won't be broken, have any saw marks in it anymore, okay? So then obviously with the curve, I'm pushing, and it's really because sometimes you can't get a straight stroke. A lot of times we do what I call the push and swoosh. And I'm putting a little bit of elbow grease into it. Okay. Whoops, my metal is thin. Okay. So that would be the round side for an interior curve. Now I want to show you one other thing, which I'm going to go grab real quick. That is this cool tool. This is called a ring clamp, and we use it in filing a lot. Very often you're going to find things, you're going to be filing on things that are way small to hold. So we have this clamp here, and you put it in your metal in so, and you just give it a good bump, like so. And that holds everything solid. So when I am working on it, I can kind of pivot my piece into whatever negative space in my bench pin, but it'll hold your piece really stably. You are always supporting your work. You are not filing in the air because one, you'll get the job done faster. If you are kind of filing in the air with a different stroke every time, one, it's going to take you a lot longer because you don't have any resistance. Two, your edge will be wobbly. So supporting and using some resistance will give you a nice, clean, perfect line. Now, if when we were sawing, you may have ended up with a wobbly edge. You're going to file to the edge of the line that you want. Hopefully that makes sense there. I think that's most of it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward in that you are just kind of going over the edges. You're working supported. You're always pushing away. Your basic file is a flat file. You're never getting water or putting heat on them. Okay? Thanks.